Welcome back to the Pot of Gold podcast. Mike taking the hat off just threw me for a loop in the transition screen. I'm Brett. I'm here with Mike as always. Grant the intern back from shout out huge erection. He's obviously got the noties on in the chat immediately. It says 0 on the list, and our boy's already in the chat saying let's go.
That's crazy. I love it.
Seems impossible.
That does seem a little fishy.
I don't remember what I was watching now. It may have been Moscona, it may have been something else, but I saw our boy Hugh G in the comments.
No way.
Getting after it.
Getting dirty.
Do you think he does?
I figured out how to set it up last week. Okay, so he's got a prompt.
He's got the notification bell.
Do you think he does?
Do I think he does what?
Like his
Spell
name?
it out.
Huge erection. This is a tough start to the pod. This is a tough start to the show. Huge. We love you, brother. But it's our fault for being distracted. We are here. It is week 2. Let's get into the podcast. Brett, I hijacked your intro. Get back to it.
No, it's all good because I never know what to say, and then I try to just send it off the rails immediately, and it worked again, as usual. LSU defeats Grambling, whatever, 72-10, whatever it turned out to be. We're definitely going to get into that, talk about Mississippi State, talk about the Bama dynasty being over, Dabo not looking great.
Mel
a
Tucker.
lot of stuff. Dude, the Mel Tucker, I guess, will be discussed at some point during the podcast. Like, what an alternate reality that just had me chuckling last night that we hire Mel Tucker for $18 billion and then he gets, in trouble for jerking it to a phone call. And then we had to bring Ed Orgeron back to run the season. Like, what a hilarious thought process that is to go through. If interim Ed, you have 0 chance of keeping this job. Come on, your son can be OC. Fuck it. Let's just see what happens.
Right. Wild turn of events. What's up, Gerald? Gerald's in the chat. You mentioned Dion, right? We're going to obviously have to touch on Dion, Dabo, obviously the fall of Nick Saban.
This feels like the most unknown, wide open, and look, maybe it's going to sound stupid when Ohio State and Bama are in the playoffs and it's same usual suspects, but it feels like it's the most wide open, anything can happen season that we've done in a long time. So it should be really fun.
Right, and we need to clinch our hope here as long as possible, clinch it up and not look to the future and just reflect on each week. And I think that's what college football is about, right? Let's stay focused here on week 1 and 2 and look at 3. We don't need to worry about Ohio State and Bama sneaking in anything. Let's enjoy the melts while they happen, because we know that it's a short window to live in this sense of harmony and union amongst all of the old school blue bloods that are waiting to get back in the door. That was kind of like a T-Bob tangent there. Yeah, the Spotify has been an issue. Garrick, good call. I forgot to tell Brett about that. My bad.
Yeah, someone hit us up on Twitter. I thought that may be an issue, and then I forgot about it. So I'm just gonna, Grant, mark this down at the end of the podcast. Remind me. I think I just need to update the Spotify feed somewhere. So I'll look into.
Yeah, Grant, you mark that down as the producer, and Brett will get after that later.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, got it.
Speaking of that, look, we've already gone off the rails, so we're just gonna do it here. Mike, you posted something on Twitter. I guess it was yesterday. Dates are all off of
every day is Tuesday to me.
We did I did a 9/11 show, spoke with someone who was there, friend of the program, maybe formally, I don't know, Zombie Bob. And it just brought me back to when I was editing and listening to that podcast to post. If you didn't listen to it, you go to the 25-minute mark. Mike posted it. I think I retweeted it on Twitter. Grant with an all-time derailment that is one of the funniest things that's ever happened in the podcast. I don't even know if I want to spoil it,
No,
but
don't spoil it.
Zombie had like just gotten in a rhythm where he was like, and it obviously an emotional story, and he was like clicking, and Grant just sends this fucker sideways, and it is so funny. So go back and listen to that. It's a great story, obviously. Like it's one of those things that makes you appreciate things, but it's just one of the fun. I can't tell you how hard I've laughed at that.
It was a great pod. I started listening back to it, and I was like, oh wow, I forgot how like heartfelt that episode was until I destroyed it.
Yeah, I mean, destroyed it, but I mean, it's content and it was a fun time, and we'll give
it
like
unintentional too.
It was unintentional. We'll give a little teaser for those that haven't listened though, but obviously Zombie, he loves to be on the show, and he was a great friend of the program and all that good stuff. It takes him some time though to catch a rhythm, and I think that was really the big part of this episode for the 9/11 show, was that it was a very personal story, and it was going to take some time for him to kind of get along the lines of like, okay, now we're in a groove on telling a story and not just kind of recapping events. And he was doing a great job. And in his memory from that night, there was a lot of things happening on the night of the 9th, or soon before 9/11, and one of them was a very big baseball game. And let's just say Grant started fact checking the baseball game, not only the opponents, but the statistics. And it turned into something that was not heartfelt and not focused on remembering that event. But funny nonetheless. Go check it out. But no, we are still on Spotify. We just have to get some stuff uploaded. And let's see. Someone said something about Discord. Yeah, I don't think we've been in Discord for a while.
It's the Discord.
2019.
Discord, yeah, that was
Discord was discontinued.
It had its moments. All right, look, let's get into it. There's a lot to talk about. We can talk about line of scrimmage. We can talk about the running back rotation.
I think let's start off with that. I think
let's start with the quarterbacks. Oh, never mind.
I think we've bullshitted
different show entirely
enough. Let's dive right into it. I think we can all sit back and take away, hey, we put up 72 points. Obviously the defense struggled in the beginning to contain Warren Easton, and eventually we were able to shut them down. And I'm making a joke about Warren Easton, people, because of Tony Hall, personal friend of the program. So, Coach Hall, props to you for your success.
Nothing but respect.
But he was the former coach at Warren Easton, as well as Mandeville High School. Some connections back there.
What a tree, huh? What a coaching tree.
It was a wild coaching tree for Tony Hall, but best coach I ever had. But his offense was humming a little bit against our defense in the beginning. We settled in, and we ran away with what we were supposed to do, right? And I think that there was nothing. Like people can bitch. I saw somebody bitching about the Malik Neighbors little speed wrap around the edge, and they're, oh, if this was against anybody else, that defensive end would have got him, whatever. It's like, okay, but it wasn't. It's Grambling, and that's why we called this play and we scored, because that's what we're supposed to do in this situation, right? And I think
another thing to put on film. It's something that you run a play off of in 3 weeks against Auburn when they see that guy in motion, like, oh, we know what's happening, and then you
right. But if he wouldn't have been able to stretch out against this kid that was chip blocked, and I mean, we were playing a damn high school, like, and if he was able to get him in the backfield or whatever, then we'd have some problems here, right? But he blew past him. Yeah. Yeah, with all due respect. With all due respect. I'm just saying, like, Grant, like, that team is not anything that we should be writing home about, right? I mean, we did what we were supposed to do. Now, there was personnel takeaways, right? Not personal, but personnel takeaways. Like Logan Diggs and Caleb Jackson, that's running back number 1 and 2. I don't want to get into the discussion, even though we're about to, about Josh Williams being better than those two. He's not. He's a stable back. But the two horses that I want getting the ball the most moving forward is Logan Diggs and Caleb Jackson.
I don't know that I necessarily disagree with you. All I can say is I feel like I have to hold my position. Like, I agree they should get some very good, probably starter reps this week against Mississippi State. But I mean, you just mentioned it, man. It's like the the talent discrepancy, our offensive line should have been able to push those dudes around to run. So while the eye test showed me, it's like, oh, Diggs could actually be a dude for us. I can't just sit here and pound the table saying like this is a All-American, we're back.
I didn't
And
say
Ken
that.
Trayford.
I didn't say
I
that.
know, I know.
What I'm saying is there is a little bit in the same sample size, the same team with the same, with the same O lineman in front of them. There's a little bit of a different pop to the running game when those two are running. And it's because they're not playing it safe. Specifically with Caleb Jackson, it is see hole, hit hole, and get a burst. And I don't care who's around me because I have the speed to outrun them, but I also have the power to back it up. Where I love what Josh Williams does. Don't get me wrong. I think he is excellent. Like he is like our running back version of Greg Clayton for punt return. It is safe. It is secure. He's going to pick up the blitzer. He's going to hit the hole. But after that, there is no home run threat. There is no, I'm going to carry a defender for 10 extra yards or whatever the case may be, where you are starting to see, small sample size, I understand, a different type of pop and a different type of judgment of not getting hit in the backfield for a loss. If the hole is stuffed, we're going to bounce it or we're going to sneak through a different hole. That's Logan Diggs and Caleb Jackson as of the small sample size we have. So I think we talked about going into the season, this is going to be a pretty evenly distributed rotation, but it's going to take a couple games where we have a guy that's like, ooh, that's different, right? That's a little bit of a pop that's different. If they can do that a few more times, I agree. It's going to be a no-brainer. I'm just trying to get out ahead of it.
I will say Diggs looks incredible in the 3. Like immediately when he walked on the field, it was like the meme, the Leo meme of like, what is that? Who is that?
Yep.
It was like, when did we get this guy? I know you, of course, obviously a few seconds later it clicks that it's Diggs, but it was like looks the part. Like that's the first time I feel like I've looked at an LSU running back of what we like grew up with in a while.
What's funny is the comparisons to people. I think he runs a lot like Stephen Ridley. I think he's got like a Ridley form to him where that's a decent comparison. But it's always funny to see people just inherently compare because of numbers. And someone's like, oh, he looks like TDP. I'm
Ty Davis Price. Yeah.
It's because the 3. There's really not much of Ty Davis Price and Logan Diggs, but I don't know. It's always funny how that happens. Anytime there's a number situation, especially in the running back room, and they're the same like size, it's like that's the same running style.
Yeah, I think we'll learn a lot more, and I think this goes for a lot of positions in this 4-game stretch. Let's say, what do we got? Mississippi State, Auburn, Arkansas, Missouri. Like you're gonna
not in that order, but yes, Ole Miss is in there too.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, there you go. That's even probably the biggest test of that stretch. But it's like you're going to find that the roster or the starting positions are going to look a lot different than they did against Florida State.
Yes. And I think part of that on the offensive side of the football is Lance Hurd. I think Lance Hurd makes a difference in balancing that offensive line. And he looked great against Grambling. He was supposed to, but he also had everything to offer. It wasn't just, hey, late in the fourth quarter, we're going to run zone. And yeah, he knows how to wash an end. Like, no, this was the whole playbook that we ran against Grambling for the night, and he was involved in all of that. His pass sets looked smooth, his down blocking looked good, his spread block, his reach blocking looked good. I mean,
talk about looking different.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's wearing pads. It's just like this is me. I'm this human giant robot.
He's standing next to Emory Jones, and he just looks like they play totally different positions. Like his arms coming out of his shoulder pads looks like a Batman villain. Like he looks like it's insane. And his arms look like he could dunk without even jumping. Like this dude looks the part. Please be as nasty as we've been told, and like take a spot and don't give it back.
Wait until he's not a teenager. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Wait till Moffitt gets his hands on him. I mean, look out. But
or Mel.
Look, I think I've been under impressed. I don't know exactly the way to word that right now. Not as impressed as I was hoping with the offensive line. but it's like you can kind of see it's getting there. And if we can kind of mix it up, Will Campbell's going to do his thing. I just feel like I feel like it's not as ironclad as I thought it was going into the season, and can say the exact same thing for the defensive line. Line of scrimmage has been underwhelming.
And you don't get a whole lot of looks from this past week. It's not like that last game told you a whole lot about if Miles Frazier can actually hold up at right guard, you know?
Right. But it worries me that we still couldn't get pressure.
Yeah, defensively for sure. I think there's the issue of, you know, they were getting the ball out quickly and our defense didn't really have time to get in his face, and that's how they countered that. We were not really getting pressure regardless of run versus pass. I mean, like, they were running the ball on us as well. We're running past the runners. We are not in, like, there's a lack of push up front, and it's obviously Wingo's a dude. Obviously Mason Smith is just going through the motions until it matters, and he's taking limited snaps. So
great to see him out there. Took way more snaps than I was anticipating.
Yeah, you can tell he's not really playing with a high amount of emotion. He's just kind of, hey, I'm going to take up space, lock you out, and disrupt the play. I don't expect much more out of him until this weekend. But outside of those two, this has a lot more to do with edge pressure, and so I think that's why we looked at Harold Perkins and putting him on the outside, and like, what can we do to get pressure off the edge? But also we need help at the actual defensive end spot with pressure, right? We don't, like, Harold Perkins is excellent when you have a BJ Ojolari or an Ali Gay creating pressure, right? But if you don't have any of that coming, like, of course, the one lone soldier running around the backfield can be avoided. So everything has to work together. And right now, not every piece is clicking where they're supposed to. And that's part of early season woes and growing pains and figuring out who we are. But I think part of that is personnel, and we need to be able to get the right people on the field. I think Hurd needs to stay on the field. I think Frazier did a great job for filling a void as a transfer. He was excellent. And I think he still is. Like, offensive line, you need 6 to 7 men at all times. It's not just the first 5. So he is an adequate, more than adequate substitute. But I think your best guy is with Emery. Your best two is Emery and Hurd on that right side. Defensively, you need to see some of these guys. I mean, you looked at Deshaun Womack on kickoff, where they were confused about his numbers because he has to wear 92 on kickoff because of the 17 situation with Chris Hilton. And so, of course, for one, they don't even try to find 92 on the announcement. They go straight with 52, which is Prince Malbrew, who was like an assist on the play. But make no mistake, 92 beheaded this man. And it was a, leaving the ground, Superman style, perfect
Jarvis Landry vibes.
Like something that you love to see and you wish you could see every game from somebody. You might be able to do that if you play the kid. So get him on the field, some form or fashion, get a pass rush package for him, because not all of these guys
stay in 92 as well.
92 is badass.
It looks so much better than 17. Like, there's too many teen numbers for our outside
where it's not really cool.
And I'm like, how many safeties do we have on the edge this year?
No, great point. The first time I saw somebody like in 2 on the D line, it was like, that's incredible. But like a decade later, it's like, man, I would love like a fucking 99 ass Hoss. You know what I mean?
That just means we're getting old, Mike. It
absolutely
back in my day, defensive ends were 92 or nothing.
Yeah, you know what made me spry was seeing that message from Grant saying, "Hey, Al Woods is still in the game." Like that. That made me feel so young. Like, I was like, you know what? It's still cool. I know NFL players that whenever we were in college are still balling. Yeah. Like, we're good. We're absolutely good.
What a solid career.
Where were we?
92. Well, he should be wearing 92.
And here's the deal. And he's a true freshman. So like the evaluation process is still ongoing, but there's some guys like Wiggins who, like, let's see these guys in the game, right? Like, not everybody is a practice guy. Not like there's so many players that are studs that only turn it on when the lights are on. And I get you need to change that type of mindset and get the most out of your players at all times for preparation purposes. But you at least have to see if they have it at all, right, when the lights are on. And
so are you saying, like, those guys should have played more in this last game, because I feel like they might have waited a while, because we did give up 100 yards rushing in the first quarter, and they're like, well, shit, now we got to keep the starters in.
Yeah, but that's when you got to find out who's a fucking dude.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's like,
or like against Florida State, whenever they just no answer. I don't know. Maybe give like a snap to some of these other guys and see if one of them pops.
What's the worst that can happen? We get gashed for another 20 yards. It's like, I mean, I think we all knew no matter what happened in that first quarter, it probably wasn't going to be a dogfight late in the second half. I mean, we knew we could kind of cruise control this thing in. And it's like, you know, we had a message in the chat earlier about like if they think Trey Holly's gonna redshirt. And it's like, yeah, I would assume he would have snatched up some of those Noah Cain reps at the end of the game if we had any intention of even
Speaking of Noah Cain's Player of the Game award, I mean, by far the most obvious, like, thank you, sir, for your service, but you are never going to see the field again. We love you, brother. We love you.
We would like you to be a coach on the field.
Guys, give it up. Give it up for Noah Cain.
Like,
it's the last time you'll see him. Give it up. Like that's what I got from that.
Does he play special teams? I haven't watched close enough to see if he's out there.
I don't know. He will now.
Caleb Jackson, you're off. You're off of kickoff.
Yeah.
Where was Trey Bradford hurt?
No, it just wasn't his night for the rotation.
We trust him with the first play of the game that we've been drawing up for fucking 3 weeks, but
he played a ton of snaps.
He'll be back again. Mississippi State will have like Armani Goodwin. We'll have John Emery.
Emery hurdling people.
Emery's going to be the best thing this is going to be the best version of Emery we've ever seen, and we're not going to know how to do it.
First snap though, like Diggs is going to be the starter. Diggs is going to get the start this week, right?
Most of the weeks.
Stokes is.
I think Cam Wire might have started last week. We're not even sure about that.
That is true. Who made that? Fucking
that's
Cody?
The first time I've been.
They messed it up again this week. Did y'all see that?
I think that's the one. I think that's the one in question.
Wire was last week too.
Last week they had Cam Wire. This week they had was it Bradford?
Trey Bradford?
No. The center, not Trey Bradford.
We don't have to get into
last year offensive lineman Bradford. Anthony Bradford.
Let's just pull the eject right now.
So they messed up again.
A
Damn.
little worrisome at the top, boys.
You know who looked good?
Denver Harris.
Okay, Jordy is creating
Garrett Nussmeier
shitstorm with Garrett Nussmeier and Denver Harris talk, and I get it. He's a YouTube clicks channel. Like they need to stir a little bit.
With all due respect,
that's what we have to do too, right? But at the end of the day, I do get where he's coming from. Like talking through the lens of give the guy a chance. He might be your best dude out there as a gamer and not necessarily as a show up to class on timer, you know? And so are we really in a position to be forcing our hand in other areas while the product in the field right now from Zay and Deuce, just in my opinion, it's not gonna last, my guys. It's not gonna last with those two. Mm-hmm. I think you got to play Ashton Stamps and you have to play Denver Harris. And I think Welsh deserves some rotation too. I get those guys pumping, get them used to the game. Listen, Mississippi State barely throws the football. Did y'all know that? Like it's crazy to look and watch the game, the replay against Arizona. And it was like, okay, like corners. Yeah. Like I was waiting for old boy to start slinging around and he was just literally just doing handoffs all day. But I think our DBs can continue to develop against this team and learn and not be exploited the whole time. And so I want to see those guys keep playing. I mean, yeah, did Denver look great? No, like he did not look great. I understand he hasn't played in like 8 months. I understand that he was in quote unquote position, but just kind of was caught off guard, whatever.
So is everyone else on the team, though.
Yeah, I think Denver, I think athletically, everything that we've seen in the past, like he needs to be out there.
He looked like he cared on the plays that he was out there.
Look, I completely agree, and I am fully in support of like, yeah, this dude needs to be on the field. But my God, was it not funny to see him get mossed almost like immediately? Of like, this
Well, right
is
after
the
the
savior,
segment
guys. We
of
got Pat
announcers.
Peterson part 2. This guy's Tyrann Mathieu with Pat Peterson's ears, and then he just immediately it was just such a like a funny like, well, there it is again.
I thought he was going to redeem himself with that incredible backwards leap that he had. Like he almost had a pick in the end zone where he was just like levitating horizontally on top of everybody, but obviously didn't come down with the ball. But you know, one of those is going to hit. One of those is going to hit. But you know, Stamps is one of those guys too.
We can shit on corners and everything. Like I think as a whole, like every position group,
linebackers is scary right now.
Linebackers is a fucking problem, and it's like, oh, look, Greg Brooks, we're a pro Greg Brooks podcast, but it's like at some point we got to find a safety or two that can fucking tackle. It's like we're getting whiffs against Grambling. It's
Burns
like, good God,
Burns is missing a lot of tackles this season.
A lot, too many. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you know, Sam's for his like he's got the athletic ability. He's still getting caught up to speed. But he's no problem. He's a decent tackler, right? And
I like him.
Yeah. So I think he's going to just keep getting better. I'm a little disappointed with Major Burns, though, to be honest with you. Burns so far is not looking great. I think if Toviano can turn that corner, he could jack a safety position, right? And like that's what we were talking about as these young kids. The more they develop and the more they kind of rise to the occasion, like you might see some of these Deshaun Womack types or, you know, Toviano types like take a position and maybe just lock it down for 3 years coming up within the next few weeks.
Well, and it's like, you know, that's kind of what happened last year. It's like Emory Jones wasn't the week 1 starter, and once he kind of got his feet wet, it's like he's not coming off the field. And like it's just what's going to happen, man. It's like easy to this is not a Brian Kelly apology or excuse or anything, but it's like not that long ago, we were starting a wide receiver in the Texas Bowl with 30 guys on the team. Yeah. It's like it's going to take time. These young guys who we all love to sit there on National Signing Day, maybe around Christmas nowadays, and think about like how, oh, well, this dude can play immediately. And it's like, it takes time. It takes time. This team's going to look different rolling into Bama. And it's like maybe for better or for worse, but it's like injuries are going to happen. Dudes are going to have opportunities. And hopefully it's like we have those. Hopefully Toviano's a dog. And like you said, he's like, oh, well, this dude's out. This dude's in there. We got to keep him in. Like he can't. What are we going to do? Put this guy in? No.
Yeah, I agree. I think another guy that when it starts to click upstairs, you're not going to be able to get off the field is Lil Weeks. I think Baby Weeks is a guy that if I know Matt House like I think I do, he's going to want Weeks in there.
But it feels like Greg Penn is going to be like your 1 year stopgap for that. Like, look, I don't want to sit here and just like bash on the players and bash on like Omar Spates, but like it hasn't been the Omar Spates show that we were kind of promised. It's like seems like Greg Penn might be our best option at one of those linebacker spots. I think this is a great question. Read it.
Yeah. Brian Landry says, it seems like Brian Kelly has made us soft. I still like the guy to build the program, but we need some grit, bring back big cat drills. I think we mentioned this on the last pod. Like you're exactly right. Like this is the guy to build a program under, but I think for every Brian Kelly, you need like a Will Muschamp. Like you need like a psycho in that locker room, like hitting his head on the locker and bleeding, you know, and you can be the slow and steady, like this is the way, my friends. All right. But like if all you have is like this, you know, Ninja Turtle Splinter kind of guiding the way, like you need some type of like roughneck in there causing hell. And I don't know if Matt House is that guy.
Yeah, I agree, but that is my biggest concern because that was what happened in the Florida State game. It was I think they beat us out, they out athleted us, but it was like a bully fest, and I think
physicality should never be an issue, right?
yeah, and
Like
I
that's
think Brian Kelly's done a great job building the offensive line, which is where all that nastiness and grit comes from. Is the line of scrimmage. It's like we got to remember it's year 2. This is not saying it's a 10-year plan, but Brian Kelly wants to get this thing humming here in this next 4-year window. He wasn't as much worried about year 1 and year 2. That's where you get your guys in, you instill your culture, you weed out the ones that don't want to be there, and then you build it. But yeah, it does worry me that we don't have a coach that kind of sets up scenarios and practices to cause a fight and get some of these dudes being dogs. That is a concern.
Yeah, and I think
But
Brian
everyone's
Kelly.
soft. Everyone's fucking soft now. You have Alabama players going live on Instagram, fucking dancing, smiling, having a blast after getting throttled in their own
He
fucking
had
stadium.
174 views, dude. Like, what do you expect him to do?
Mike, do you see how many views we have right now?
Yeah, like, it's incredible. Let me get my girl in here.
And so, like, the thought of, I know we can watch Swamp Kings and watch midnight mat drills and workouts and be like, that's fucking football. That's America. That's just not what's fucking happening. We're doing
But there's a
TikTok
way.
dances in the locker room.
I think
There's a medium.
There is a way to get kids to play physical and to have that sense of edge to them. But I think it like, and I hate to keep bringing this dude. I hate to keep going on Dion, but like these guys, I know they're better physically than some of the teams that they've played, but like they are playing very physical football. Like, and they're executing at a really good level. And so he doesn't let fucking music in the locker room. I'm laughing at a comment, but he doesn't allow music in the locker room, right? He doesn't allow like a lot of the shenanigans that went on there beforehand. So there is a disciplined approach to it, but it's like you got to find that middle ground and understand what this new generation, what makes them tick, right? And it could be TikTok.
It goes hand in hand with it goes hand in hand with the Brian Kelly we thought we knew, the one that would be red-faced, ripping into a quarterback coming off the field. That's not the same guy.
The story the Kelsey brothers told was hilarious.
Such a great story about getting the recruit out of there.
53.
That's dude. Who the fuck is 53? Like the fact that I thought I didn't know where that story was going, and then like because Kelsey kind of paused for a little bit, I was like, oh, that wasn't that funny that like those kids had to witness that, and then it was like when he turned it on to the kids, I can just envision that so perfectly. Like
being a high school kid standing in there at halftime.
That was a beautiful story.
It just brought me back to Mike can attest. Our basketball coach in high school, my basketball coach was legit crazy. Dude was hilarious. And like halftime speeches, he would just call us every R word that you could think of that would get canceled these days. And just listening to like that story brought me such a smile of thinking about like the old days of just having a coach being in a locker room with just a bunch of dudes knowing that he can say whatever the fuck he wants. Like he is the alpha there. It was cracked me up.
But awesome. If you don't know what we're talking about,
it's changed.
Look up Travis Kelce podcast, whatever their podcast is. It was
I think I retweeted it a couple days ago.
Amazing.
It was pretty funny.
But would you think Saban 10 years ago would be going on a radio show happy as can be with Pat McAfee every Thursday? It's like we just live in a different world, man. It's not like
he's rethinking that.
Well,
but
McAfee
with all that being said, Brian Landry says, wait, Dion doesn't have music in the locker room. I would have thought they would be partying in there. After the game, I'm sure. But there was definitely an interview he had with, I don't know if it was Marty or one of those jokers. And it was one of those like very quiet in the film room type of meetings or interviews. And he said, when he first got there, it was like, they were taking a boombox to the meeting room or whatever. And he's like,
you're 2 and 10.
Yeah. He's like, we're not doing any of that type of bullshit around here. There's no fucking music in here. We're not doing you got to win first. Right. And so I don't know the extent of no music, but I'm just using that as an example of like, there's discipline involved. It's not just let's get a bunch of the best players like A&M and then let them go fucking drive recklessly and get arrested and deal with all that bullshit. There's a way to get your players that are really, really good, that are, as modern day as they come, and get them to play well and execute. There is a way to do it. And obviously some of this older generation of coaches are having trouble keeping up with that, like Nick Saban, right? And so the fear that some have is Brian Kelly in that same boat, where, he has all the answers, but there is a little bit of a generational situation here where he might need to tap into some of these other assistant coaches, where maybe even Frank can't pull it off, right? Maybe it's like a Cortez Hankton type of youth in that generation that is an up and coming coach that we can really get to be a representation of the players and how they interact with the coaching staff. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass, but like,
no, I agree. I think that's why Steeples has a job. It's not like Steeples had this amazing resume. It's like Brian Kelly. I think the story was he was recruiting one of Steeples' players out of high school, and he was like, "I love this guy. I love what he's about. I'm going to give him an opportunity." And it's like that's what that feels like to me.
So a lot went down. Yeah.
I just trust Brian Kelly, man. I trust him to be the
I do.
CEO of what we're doing here. And if it doesn't work out, then you know what, so be it. But we're also not going to be trying to gather up $76 million in a month or two to try to get rid of them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We've got plenty of time for Brian
we're
Kelly.
okay.
Yeah, we're going to be fine. We will win a championship under Brian Kelly. I have no doubt about that. Is the majority of our fan base going to be willing to wait however long that takes? Probably not.
Well, they're going to have to.
They're going to have to, because that's just the way it is right now. So with that being said, a little disappointed by LSU Gold. I logged in. I gave you guys the login. That was actually the first time I logged in to watch anything. And it was there was ads. It was like a documentary on Will Campbell, and very minimal game coverage. And then this week
was so good last year.
Last year was great. This second episode is the same shit.
Seeing all like the stuff of Brian Kelly in the locker room after the game, like it made me, and it's like saying this and it seems weird, but it made me feel so much more connected to the team, like being in the locker room for those moments, to all of a sudden be like, yeah, we're just gonna do it like Hard Knocks. We're gonna get a narrator sponsored by Hancock Whitney, Canes,
Bud Light. See episode 2. Get ready for that bullshit to be shoved down your throat. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. The second one is about Mason Smith and his story, and it's like, I know who these guys are. I've been following these fuckers since 8th grade. I want to know what practice looks like this week.
It just felt so incredibly lazy to think about how much footage and content that they have from spring, from fall camp, from literally everything, to just be like, let's just get a guy in for an interview. It's like, great. I love the Will Campbell thing. That should be separate than this, like the path or whatever the fuck we call it. And it's like, yeah, I was majorly disappointed in your $8 a month. I will say that.
It might not last that long. Take that as a threat, LSU. Step up your game. And also, like, did you see, you got to log in there and check this out. There's a film room, like bonus section or whatever. And it was 2 fucking plays. Gordy Rush goes over 2 plays with Brian Kelly.
Oh, and they did one of the, they
like 4.5 minutes.
Twitter. It was the Contraford first play of the game.
Yeah, it was it was a defensive play, and then
the film room with Gordy. Yeah, it was last week was the first play of the game.
Sorry, I didn't watch that one. I'm talking. Yeah, okay. I was looking at the Grambling tape. Yeah,
which is just hilarious. He's like, all right, we're here for the first play with the play of the game. And it's like we just got our ass kicked by Florida State. Why are we fucking focused on this?
But the fact that they put no effort, they put no effort into it, and was like, "Hey, you got the time audio, for 2 plays."
Dude, the audio's all shitty. Like they're in a fucking box. They're like in a museum doing this thing. Like,
yeah,
we're available to consult. That's pretty much what we're getting at here. Is we're available to consult on how to give good content for $9 a month, like every other service in the world.
Just putting it
They're going to raise the price. Get ready.
They're not. They're gonna have to drop it. Get ready
to drop the price.
So, yeah, have you ever heard that in the past 5 years, 10 years on anything? There was a lot that went on this past weekend in college football. and I think we definitely need to do our part and kind of go over a lot of the highlights from this past weekend before we kind of take a peek at Mississippi State. The biggest storyline, obviously, is Alabama
The
losing.
grass, Jimbo Fisher snap. Oh, okay. No, you can go there. I thought you were talking about the biggest story of the week, but
We'll get to that. Let's start off with Quinn Ewers, who looks like an absolute crackhead with his mullet gone. I never
we
thought
got to go
anyone could
back.
cut a mullet and look more trashy. It's weird.
I literally, that was one of the main reasons why I was like leaning Alabama. I was like, this dude's not gonna get. If he had the mullet, I think I would have been riding.
Yeah, definitely not the guy I thought he was when you hear him talk and really just who he is, like coming out of high school, he skipped his senior year. He was like having all these Monster energy drink deals, got a truck deal, goes to Ohio State, but then at the end of the day, he's just a little Texas country kid, man, and he can drop some dimes. Beautiful ball thrower.
It almost looks like when you try to hit the B button and you like finger kind of slips off it and you lob it, the thing just balloons up there and you're like, that can't work.
He's a jugs machine.
And then it just literally like in stride, the dude can just like catch it in front of his face, like some absolute dimes. But also another thing, watching that game, it felt a little like watching Florida State against LSU. It's like Texas was kind of the bullies in that game.
Yes, they were. They out-physicaled Alabama, and I think that was a takeaway that was obvious to many people, especially Alabama alum. There was like the being out-physicaled and pushed around, and Saban truly not having any answer for it or really care. I think that's what a lot of people have noticed is like, this dude doesn't give a shit.
Did you see his post game? He was like, look, guys, I just got to say it's an honor and a privilege to be coaching in front of these fans. Great crowd. It's like, dude, not my Saban. This is like a Joe Biden's part two. It's like,
he must have caught Joe Biden. He must have got the shot.
Well, you can only do so much hair coloring until people realize like, oh, this dude's really old.
God, what game was it? Something came across my YouTube feed. It was an LSU game from like 2003. It was like a Matt Mock game, and I flipped it on. Damn, I can't believe I can't think of the game. I watched like a quarter of it, and they were like, there's the up-and-comer Nick Saban, 50-year-old coach. I'm like, oh my God, he was 50 then. And it was very funny. It was very funny.
Dude, wait, speaking of 2003, you realize the last time Nick Saban got beat by double digits at home was in 2003 against Florida in Tiger Stadium.
Crazy.
Is LSU. I was at that game. That was the only game I went to that national championship year. I'll never forget Skylar Green returned the punt for our only 7 points.
Beautiful.
I was at the OU Texas game that day. We were catching the updates on the screen because cell phones weren't really a thing back then. It was barely. I don't think the internet on phones was a thing.
I was looking to go to that game this year, go see some family in North Texas, and then go to that game.
Red River
tickets are like $400.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy. It's like, fun. The Cotton Bowl is kind of, I think they may have renovated it, but the Cotton Bowl is just kind of like a concrete, like just slab. Like it's very weird. But the fair is kind of cool. Like there's so much going on, but it sucks because they're like, oh yeah, we're kicking at 11 a.m. So like you don't really get to do the fair stuff. But it's a cool game to go to.
Going back to Texas beating Alabama, it's strange. Obviously, Alabama drops to 10. Like, I really thought the stories about Saban's collapse would be a lot more. I'm guessing it's because they only have one loss so far.
Yeah, it's not done yet.
And I think when do you think it's truly like
they're writing them right now, but they're not published yet?
What do you think? One more loss? Do you think it depends on who it is?
One more loss pre-LSU, and it's like Paul's phone lines are completely lit up on Monday morning. I want to look at Alabama's schedule to see who they have.
It's South Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, A&M, Arkansas. They have Tennessee right before us. I didn't realize that.
I love that I just search Alabama in Google, not football, not nothing, and it's the first fucking thing that pops up.
Schedule.
They play, Ole Miss in 2 weeks. Then A&M, it's like A&M, we may think sucks, but A&M's a team that's not going to be like vastly out-athleted
They
by
almost
Bama.
beat them last year.
Dude, they're going to have 2 losses before they play us. Like the famous last words, they may not ever lose again, but like
they are not beating Auburn this year. They are not beating Hugh Freeze at Auburn to finish this season off.
God, I wish they didn't have the bye before us. Like going from Tennessee to us would be such a like beautiful thing.
If they lose, let's say they lose to Ole Miss. No, let's say they lose to Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn. Like, is Saban gonna just quit? Like, is he retired at 8-4 right there?
I think Nick Saban is going to be forced out. I think
if he goes 8-4.
No. I'm saying that he's going to stick around, and he's going to
my office,
and it's going to be a Bowden situation. It's going to be like, sir, we love you, and it's going to be the most incredible fucking season of just like, do you guys not know what this fucking man did to you? He could go he should be able to go 2-10 for 20 more years. Like
we gave Ed Orgeron 2 years, and like if you do some back of the napkin math, that gives Saban like 20 years. Like he can Joe Pod and be pooping his pants and calling stuff from the box, and you should be cool with it.
Yeah, there's going to be people are going to have to beg him to quit. And I think that's what it's going to get to. But he's not going to be the guy we're already seeing him crumble. We're seeing the shell of what Saban once was. And if he would have had another Tua down the pipeline, if he would have had another Bryce Young or something for another year or two, like he maybe would have been able to get in those diapers and keep rolling. But he's got Jalen Milroe.
Which, let's be honest, like 30% of the time looks like he's an unstoppable force.
Yeah, he looks like Michael Vick sometimes.
You're just like, holy shit, this dude runs like a gazelle and it leaves his hand like Mike Vick. The problem is that if a linebacker drops, he has no idea.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's going on. And apparently no one behind him is worth a shit either. So it's going to be interesting. I do anticipate that they're not making the playoffs this year. I know a lot of people keep thinking they're going to rebound and pull it out and run the table. It's not happening.
No, because if they don't lose to us, they're losing to somebody else. Like
Tommy Reese would have been like hung from the rafter, like put on display for everyone to feast on. If this, I don't know, dude, just seeing Saban like so casual and like optimistic in the press conference he just would have been so crabby after that game. If any, like 5 years ago, it's very weird. I'm not ready, but like the meter, like we got eyes on it. All right. It's something we're staying on top of. We're aware of the situation.
Now, Dabo's long gone when it comes to his reign of supremacy at Clemson. That is like Duke beating Clemson is officially the nail in the coffin on Clemson.
I mean, dude, they were in a game at halftime against, was it Georgia? I don't think it was Georgia Southern, but it was Charleston State. Yeah, some directional school. It's really weird. It's a very weird thing because it's almost like how I tell you with golf. It's like with Scotty Scheffler. It's like it sounds like it's never going to go away. It feels like it's never going to go away. And all of a sudden in 4 years, you're going to be like, this dude doesn't have any majors. Like, what happened? That's kind of how I feel about Dabo. It's like we went from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence. And it's like these dudes are in the playoffs for the next decade. And it goes away quick. It goes away fast.
Bama kind of skewed our perception of that on how that's supposed to work. You know, like they were the anomaly, or it's just like, or the exception to the rule, where it's like, oh, you know, this is all cyclical. Everybody will be back and have their turn. But it's like they went through like 3.5 cycles, and it was like, bro, like I don't like football anymore.
Bama they cycled coaches like laundry. Like they just threw it in, they cleaned it, and they like came
Dylan
back out.
Laundry.
Yeah, and so they always just had new coaches, and then they would, you know, the recruiting was whatever, but Saban, the thing on him is why he's the greatest coach ever is because he just adapted to the game around him. He never stuck to one thing.
And you know who hasn't done that and gets beat by a half-empty stadium at Miami is Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
Texas
Good
A&M
God.
drops to Miami. The another upset on week 2. This
Another
is
team that got fucking bullied.
par for the course with Jimbo. You got to think it's done for him, right? All this money, like why are we not paying a buyout? If you got $100 million to drop on a recruiting class, what are you going to drop on getting rid of your coach?
It's going to be the end of the season.
I think he has to beat Bama.
Ooh,
I think he
God.
has to be the
Let's
Saban
pull that
Slayer.
schedule up.
How amazing would that be for us? Jimbo Fisher beats Alabama,
Gets an extension.
keeps his gig at A&M. Fucking Saban gets sent back in. Like Woodward would be like, "It's all me."
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. It does feel like, and there's guys out there, sure, but it's just like sitting here thinking, like, who are you going to pay?
Bad schedule.
You're going to pay $76 million for Jimbo not to coach. You're going to put in however much into your NIL collective, and you're going to like raise money to pay some other $100 million coach that, like, who is it out there? Are you going to go get Cowbell and say, hey, we're going to go other end of the spectrum here? I don't
Then
know.
not pay the players. You're not going to be able to do both. Like,
Here's the thing.
I get they have a lot of money, but like, guys,
best case this year. Look at the schedule. Best case, they go 8-4 again.
Yeah.
Like best case, they go 8-4 again. If they go 8-4 again, is he able to keep his job and be the 8-4 coach besides last year when he underachieved more than anyone in the history?
We'll see.
I can't wait. I can't wait for like week 10 where it comes across the bottom line where it's like he fired Petrino.
I thought you were going to say he had a sexual conversation with someone on a phone.
No.
If you listen to Jimbo's press conferences lately, like there is no, like he is not in touch with reality right now. It is just
his
like,
ass is on fire. He feels the fucking seat.
He's like, let me just fucking respond to these things as politically correct as possible. Maybe extend every question into a 5-minute segue on something else and get the fuck out of here.
You get beat by 2 scores when it should have been way worse, and you go into a minute-and-a-half explanation of like dew on the grass and like what happens when there's a stadium that has a minor roof to it and sunlight. Like, we've lost the plot, man. Like simulating snap, like post game, and I think I even mentioned it at the top. It's like Shane Beamer loves getting in these post games and being like, fucking Chains crews eating hot dogs. It's like, well, you lost by 17, buddy. Like that's not, and it feels like
he is very
it's
whiny.
Yeah, it's totally put me off. I wanted to get on the cock bandwagon this week or this year, and it's just like now it's like I'm completely out. But
the opposite of a Mac Brown, just fucking balls to the wall with the NCAA. Now they launch a fucking investigation.
Good for them. I respect that. I get behind that. But it's
legal investigation. Like they're taking legal action against people that are making threats backed by Mac Brown.
It just, I don't even know if it feels like Les Miles, but it almost, back in the day when you would be so pissed when LSU won a game by 7 or lost a close game, and you get in the post-game press conference and Les would just tangent off and you'd be like, no, let's bring it back to like what happened and not do these things. That's what you're getting with Jimbo Fisher. It's like, I just got to deflect everything and get the hell out of here. It's
100%.
hilarious to watch every year. Every year I convince myself, it's like, oh man, their talent, like this is going to be the year that all the times I've talked shit about Jimbo is going to make me look dumb. And every year it plays out exactly as it should. And it's great. I enjoy it.
Ole Miss comes wire to wire, almost losing to Tulane. And Tulane's quarterback was not even playing. What I got from that game is that Ole Miss is not physical and their lines can be pushed around. Judkins was non-existent. I mean, he was the only guy doing anything.
48 yards.
48 yards, yeah.
And it's going to make me so pissed when they're fucking like just diming us up and running down our throats.
Well, I mean, Tulane's projected to be in a New Year's Six bowl, so that's what
we'll see.
With that quarterback, like Tulane's not with their conference, Tulane has dudes because they've been recruiting New Orleans.
They're not better than us.
I'm not.
That's what I was saying. That was the point I was making.
They're not better than us. I am glad we're not playing them this year. That would not like. That would.
No, let's
that
keep
would,
grambling on the schedule.
Yeah, it would be fun to beat them, but I'm also glad like that wasn't our week 2 after Florida State. That would have been kind of weird. That'd have been like, fuck.
Well, but the Ole Miss thing, it's like, and I think other teams should probably at this point look at LSU the same way. But there's just there's no like, oh man, oh shit, like that's a loss. Like, oh man, I hope we don't get embarrassed. Like LSU could, I think LSU is going to beat Mississippi State. I think they're going to beat Arkansas. Like go down the line. Like I think you objectively say LSU is the better team, but it's not going to completely shock me if we lose to an Ole Miss or an Arkansas type team. And it's like, I think everyone feels like that. Alabama looks as beatable as they have been. It's like once we roll in there, I'm sure it's going to be like, oh, that game reset us, whatever. But it's like every game's up for the taking this year.
This week we have Mississippi State, different team, right? A team that we're not used to seeing, or a style of football that Mississippi State has never really been lately under Mike Leach, right? So Mike Leach, rest in peace, right? This is the first season that we don't have the Pirate, but this is a running attack for Mississippi State and a pretty good one at that. Going back and watching their games, they do it very well. I forgot, obviously, off the top immediately, I forget the starting running back's name. I think it's like Stark, maybe.
We only did kickers in the preseason. We didn't say whose running back is it anyway.
Grant, you can take a peek at that. He's number 7. He's a dog. Very good running back, great running attack. But you can make them one-dimensional. And I think that's the sign there, and that's kind of what I see this game.
Joquavius?
Last name.
Joquavius.
No, it's Marks or something.
Yeah, Joquavius Marks.
So his last name is Marks.
Yeah, Joquavius.
Okay. Yeah, so
hey, one more time, I didn't get
it. J-O apostrophe Quavius.
Comma to the top.
There's nothing out of the. That's a normal. Marks is a very good running back.
He is averaging 125 a game right now. So you're right. He's a bit of a damn.
I am right, and this is not a Boston Red Sox type of fact check. I watched the game, and I went back and watched it again, and I think. Brett, go ahead. You can go.
Well, all I was going to say is that they're going to try to keep the ball out of LSU's offense's hands. Like you're going to have to make stops. They're going to run the ball, and they have a guy who went from throwing it 60 times a game. So they still have that option in their offense.
Their play action is beautifully run, right? Like they set up that run for a nice play action pass, and Rodgers can throw really good balls. So it's not as if the passing game doesn't exist. It's just their bread and butter is absolutely, we're going to out physical you. We're going to get to the line of scrimmage and run it down your throat. And they're pretty good at it. Now, if we can step up and we can defend that and keep scoring every time that we have the football like we're supposed to, the game will take care of itself and LSU will pull away in the second half and be comfortably the victor. I think Matt Arnett, the head coach, his defensive philosophy is extremely aggressive. It's Matt Arnett, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. They
How
blitz.
crazy is it? Of like SEC is just
Zach.
like Zach Arnett.
Zach Arnett. Okay.
Not Will.
Not Matt.
Zach. It's crazy. It's just kind of crazy that this dude's the head coach in the SEC when it's like every other one is like a big name. Yeah. So we got to pay this dude so much money, a member of the Stoops family. And then we got this dude who I think was like the DC at San Diego State a couple of years ago. Yeah. Which like good for him. Whatever. Good it almost recruiter. Feels like it fits.
Yeah. Really, really good defensive coordinator, in my opinion.
Would you rather play at Mississippi State at 11 a.m. or 6 p.m. on ESPN?
11. I want to get it out of the way up there. I don't want a night 6 p.m. situation with Mississippi State having all day to just like get psyched up and all that bullshit. Let's take care of business early and get it done. I like being back home the next week against Arkansas at night. I think that is awesome because if that was 11 o'clock against Arkansas, that's when I'd be like, fuck, I wish it was reversed.
Did
So
y'all get eyes? Did y'all get eyes on those cans that Pittman has?
huge cans.
Dude, holy shit.
Like unreal,
Oh.
like bigger than Ben Mintz, like big
Suffocating those bad boys.
pancakes.
What a picture.
But they blitz heavy. They blitz heavy. They bring pressure every damn play.
I don't even necessarily know if this dude's like an elite DC, whatever, but kind of goes back to the Will Muschamp talk that it's like, this is a guy I kind of wish was roaming our sidelines that may headbutt
Right.
a dude with his helmet on. Like, I like this guy. I kind of hope, obviously, I hope LSU beats him every time, but I kind of hope he does well at Mississippi State. I like his mentality.
Yeah. I think if we are able to, we're obviously going to have men running free, right? Because they bring the house. Jaden has to be calm under that pressure and get those quick outs, right? I think another deal here is obviously the running game is going to be difficult to establish when you have that many people in the box coming with pressure. They have to be able to stretch the field. And so I think that's going to be a point of emphasis, is getting the ball out quickly, kind of like what Grambling did to LSU, right? We need to get the ball out quick. We need to move quick. We need to catch the ball. We can't have any drops. But I think with this offensive line, if you can get a little bit of a running game going here against this crew with this box, you're good. You're set. I think it is going to be more of a Jaden Daniels type of game, though, where he's going to have a lot of pressure and he's going to be making a lot of they bring a lot of pressure, but that means that the minute Jaden squeaks through that line, like there is no one home. Right. And so
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a big day for Jaden on the ground.
I promise that I guarantee this is the last time I'll do it. But this feels like a game that you're like Aaron Anderson. It could be his game of like, hey, they're going to blitz a lot. We're going to do a lot of these quick little.
I love it. I love it.
Put you
I
in.
love it.
But this is it. This
This
is Custard's last stand. Like, I will not do it again. Like, if he doesn't show it to me now, dead to me. But
I think
I'm going to
Malik's
do
going
it
to
one
go off
time.
this game. I think this is like Malik's like, hey, forgot about me, forgot about Dre. I think Malik's going to be making a little, because it's going to be quick passes. It's going to be
yeah.
And I think Anderson fits that boat, right? Like, hey, get it out, get screens, get moving in some jailbreaks. Yeah, I think that's an Anderson and Malik Neighbors type of game.
I hope to see someone we didn't mention that looked good in the Grambling game. Like, I hope we see Chris Hilton out there more.
Yeah, he's playing well.
It was a little sad. It hurt a little bit.
Sorry, done with Lacey. He can score a touchdown. That's great. But guess who else can? A lot of other people not named Samson.
A lot of freshmen too.
Yeah, Samson had some stone hands though.
That one hurt because, and that's what makes me like want to hold back a little bit on this whole like, we got to start Toviano, we got to start this freshman, because it's like we kind of see it's like something that we're asking for. It's like, well, why can't we put Sheldon Sampson out there to catch a ball? And it's like, well, we can fucking see he's not ready. Like, that's why I'm just
beautiful ball by Nuss.
Perfect. Like, I mean, Jaden could never. Okay, let's just be honest. But it's just one of those things that makes me be like, yeah, I bet these coaches kind of probably know what they're doing to an extent. But yeah, that one was tough to watch because you come down with those two catches, then everyone's calling for you to be like number two.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you come down with those catches, not only is Samson like a permanent staple, but also Nuss is going to have to take over if Shelton brings that shit in. Then Brock is going to shock the world and throw some hitches to the left, and then this time instead of our normal hitches to the right,
shock the world, baby.
Could see some hitches. Could be some quick outs. It's not going to be a fun one. It's not like what LSU does. What we do is what you have to do in a game against this type of defense. So it's going to be more of the same of those quick throws and Jaden kind of getting out of the pocket and escaping pressure and then hitting a 30, 40 yarder. So it's, I think where we see who we really are and some of these new faces, and if they can develop and like what the next stage of our team is at night against Arkansas. I think that's when we can finally put it all together. I think the Mississippi State game, since their defense is so gimmicky and like blitz heavy, it's just going to be, hey, let's take advantage of this stupid type of defense with our better athletes, and let's make the fucking catch, though, right?
Well, and Obviously, I'd like to see us go in and dominate, but this is one of those games that's like survive in advance, get home, and then be able to sit on the couch and watch the 6 o'clock ESPN game. Like, just go take care of business, 1-0 on the week, Joe Brady style, and come back home. Question in the chat: did y'all see FSU did with their band? They spelled out the score from our game and played neck. They deserve it, man. They can do whatever they want. Like, I
They
mean,
it means more when you beat LSU.
yeah, it's a petty shit that we do that we're all like, oh, LSU's the best. It's like, you know, if you take one on the chin, you got to be able to do it. So, Grant, how's it going?
It's good. I had to drain the main vein.
All right, well, good.
Me too.
Big. That was quick. Big. Not so big games this week.
Yeah,
well, I think you have a few. I think you have a few lookers, right? South Carolina, Georgia, I think is going to be a better game than people think. I don't think this is the Georgia squad. No one really knows who this Georgia squad is. And they're the #1 team because of the respect that we owe them after the last 2 seasons. And they have a lot of returning production. But they also have a lot of key pieces that are not returning, that have been playing a couple bullshit teams. And now we get to finally see a normal college football team go up against them. Now, by any stretch of the imagination, is South Carolina better than Georgia? But this is the first time you're actually going to see them be tested a little bit. So I think it is going to be a lot better game than what people are anticipating. The line at 27.5, you said?
Yeah,
a lot of points.
If I was legally allowed to bet, I would definitely be on South Carolina. We do need to review our picks from last pod. Do you have those written down, or was that bullshit?
I don't know that we do them for week 2. I know we did them week 1.
I wasn't here last week.
Oh, never mind.
True.
Sorry.
Grant
Never mind. We don't
here.
need to go over anything.
Well, it's preseason for everyone. We start week 4.
Yeah, so South Carolina in the points.
At some point.
Let me write these down.
Yeah, that'll help. At some point, a team that no one expects is going to have Georgia on the ropes. But for the most part, Georgia's most likely not going to be tested. And it feels like almost one of those like second year of FSU where it's like we don't, and Georgia's obviously better, but it's like we don't really know how good these dudes are. They kind of have a weak schedule, and hopefully Tennessee will prove to be a good game, but I don't know. Georgia's a big question mark, but Georgia's also like maybe your most known quantity in college football. It's weird.
Who are you going with, Brett?
You know me. I'm a plus sign guy. Things. Okay. We like the plus sign. Give me the under while we're at it.
Tennessee at Florida is really the highlight of the day. I mean, listen, it's not a great slate, but with us having our first SEC game, it's good, right? You got Mississippi State, then you can watch a little bit of Georgia versus South Carolina, Tennessee at Florida, right? So it's a good. You got 3 good games.
Get your eyes on SEC and potentially have a good matchup in each window.
Right, and then you get a nice little nightcap at 9:15, Colorado versus Colorado State. So you get to keep up with the Deion hype and keep that rolling. But let's talk a little bit about Tennessee at Florida, because this one, if you weren't paying attention to anything but like Tennessee Twitter, you would think that Florida is about to just steamroll Tennessee. Nobody from Tennessee is confident. It's very interesting to me because I think Florida looks awful, and I don't care how packed that stadium is. At some point in the game, scheme and coaching matter. And when the talent on both sides is pretty neutral, they're going to make some plays. I know that they're not the Tennessee of last season, but Florida is really bad. I know Billy's coaching for his job, but also Heupel has a lot of momentum with his career right now. And I think this would be a staple victory for him in a season where people are, I mean, it's not as guaranteed, you don't have a Heisman contending quarterback. So now are you the quarterback developer? Are you this offensive guru that's going to bring Tennessee back to the forefront? I think this is a big game for them. I don't know what the spread is. What'd you say it was?
6.5.
Tennessee minus 6.5. Now that's where I think Tennessee wins.
The number's so low.
I think Tennessee wins, but oh man,
Vegas is
It should be
begging you.
9.5. It should be 9.5.
Vegas is begging you to push all your chips in on Tennessee.
I like Florida there. I
Give me
think
Billy in the points, and it's gonna feel so awful for so long.
yeah.
For the
It's gonna
record,
be-
I'm picking against you. I'm picking Georgia and I'm picking Tennessee here. Just
Yeah,
to make it fun.
just give me all those points, Grant. Give them all to me.
You got it. You got it.
But we're all in agreement that Tennessee will be the victor of this.
Yes.
I don't know, Jim.
I don't know.
Bayou Billy may have something under his sleeve.
If he does, this is the last time he needs to reach up there, because I don't think. I think after this, it's like, okay, we're going to start our coaching search. I think that's how crazy they are.
Don't they have like the #1 recruiting class?
One of their big dudes just decommitted this week.
And that's how it starts.
So they lose to Tennessee, it's going to start, it'll fall apart. And maybe we get Corey Raymond back. I don't know. And then you got obviously Colorado and Colorado State. Like I said, what is the spread on that game? I'm waiting for Vegas to
23.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I guess I'm just gonna go broke betting against Colorado every week, and then the one week they get smashed, be like, "Fucking knew it." Deion's a clown. Deion never had it.
Corey McPherson, appreciate that. Just dropped in to say love y'all. Makes Tuesday night releases a bit more fun. Yeah, and Tuesday, Monday,
whatever you like to do in the confines of your own home is fine with us, buddy. You don't have to post about it on the internet.
I love the old school smiley face. Brings me back. Another spry gesture there. Let's avoid emojis.
Texting.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, I think that's a lot of points too. At some point, Colorado is going to have to be like, whew, let's take a breather, right?
Maybe it's the Oregon, USC like games, but yeah, at some point, and it is going to be weird because it's like everyone's been very quiet, and as soon as Colorado loses, everyone's like, "See, I fucking knew you couldn't do it with all those transfers. Like this is a scam." Nebraska,
like they still might go they can still go 9-3, and it's like, wow, that's a great season.
Incredible. They go 9-3.
Yeah. My God, did Nebraska feel like the right side of that game? But Nebraska is so bad that they couldn't even like come close.
Dude, oh God. And I'm not there yet. I love Matt Rule. I think Matt Rule's a great coach. It's so early.
I've always been out on Matt Rule.
I know you have. But I'm starting to like I'm not leaning away from it, but watching his press conference about being in the center of the field and saying that they were just praying, and he asked Shamir if he wanted to pray. Like, no, you weren't. There's footage there that there was no prayer happening. Like y'all were like huddled around the center of the eye or the center of the 50-yard line for a good while. Like people that throw out their shields of like their religion and stuff, and when it turns out to be bullshit, it's like, guys, like what are we doing here? But
we call that Hugh Freeze 101.
But I think at one point he was a pastor. So I think
Dabo teaches the master's level course, but
it's just, but you weren't praying. Like it's been made very clear. Like people have outed that. And I'm like, that's tough, dude. Like don't lie like that.
I think we are in this weird wave of like, and Matt Rule's not like an old coach, but you can kind of tie this back to the whole Brian Kelly being like, I never said we were going to kick their ass. It's like, bro,
Shock was like, wait. So you're saying
that was Garland. I think Garland fucking brought it up again, but
at
it
the
was
conference.
Like, it's like, bro, we have the fucking tapes. Like maybe in a year we can blame AI, but like imagine me in the lab, like let's make Brian Kelly say this. It's like I don't think these college coaches think that it's almost like the high school mentality of like my bubble is the only world that matters. Like, no, we were just praying. It's like, no, dude, we have 19 cameras that could get a bird's eye view of you're probably mic'd up. We probably have the fucking audio somewhere. And it's so funny.
Well, they all had their headphones in. They were like bobbing heads. No one was in a prayer circle.
They just don't fucking learn. They just assume that like the beat writer in the corner's like, well, I got to put this in my newspaper if he said it. Like it's so funny to me.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well,
college football coaches are a different breed of human.
How about Jim? Was he doing chain gang? Like I can't love him anymore.
It's
Like there's nothing he can do.
There's just so many times I wanna be able to, and it's like, obviously, it wasn't his fault, but, like, the players, holding up the floor like he passed away. It's like, there's so many times that I wanna make fun of Harbaugh, but, like, my god, do I love him. And then also every year, for some reason, it happened 10 weeks early, we get well, Harbaugh's going back to the NFL. If he gets a job offer, he's gone. But it's like, it's funny because he looks like the most locked in human on the planet. And then it's like, apparently maybe behind he's like, call Miami, see what they got going on. It's like, I'll take the Detroit job. Fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, dude, he's one of those coaches that's just like, you forget he's still there until you see him on like a live game. Like, because it's always like he's in all the media, he's always on like a picture, but it's just like, yeah, that's that coach from back in the day. And it's like, no, Jim's still with us. Like, he's still currently coaching at Michigan. You don't really get into that until like later in the season when they're playing Ohio State, or if they make the playoff. You're just like, this motherfucker is like one of the biggest faces of college football, and like he just sneaks up on you. Like,
but like also he's got, I would assume, a pretty extensive coaching tree, and he's like, fuck, I got to bring my 90-year-old father in to look over the program. It's like,
yeah, he's wild, man.
This isn't West Monroe. Like, this is not the family business of like, well, my dad was the high school coach. I'm JT Curtis the third. Like, it's fucking not.
But to him, it is. But to him, Michigan is his fucking Curtis, dude. That's what this is.
These dudes are straight lunatics. It's so
Speaking
funny.
about West Monroe, they just fired their head coach.
I did see that. I don't care, but I did see that. Hopefully,
I read up on it a little bit. It's kind of dramatic. Like, there's a lot of drama involved in it. It's very funny.
It's interesting.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Basically, he told in his like press release, he's like, all I got to say to the young coaches is watch your back.
Yeah.
And
or should I stab in the back?
He's like, watch your back for the people that you promote among your staff. It's like, okay, so who's the OC? Like, who's the fucker that's trying to get his job?
Who's he talking about here?
Yeah.
But yeah, just the thought of like going to your kid's football game and you're like, I want to watch game day, like the fucking and then you see Harbaugh just changing the third down. Has to be so funny.
Oh God, I know.
What a life.
Drinking a gallon of 2%.
But like also just casually getting like $300,000 direct deposits every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and still wearing fucking, I don't know, dude. Just the fucking duck head khakis, man. Like, just loving it. Loving it.
Yeah. At some point, the characters will phase out. We'll have a bunch of like statistical, like math nerds that are head coaches and stuff playing the game on Madden. But
what's his face from the Dolphins? He's kind of starting that trend right now.
I love McDaniels. God, I love him.
Mike McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love his play calling.
Oh, dude, it's fun to watch the Dolphins. Certainly.
Yeah, it's easy when you have Tyreek Hill, but he's always just working these dudes to get open. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, the NFL is certainly having its way with me this season. I'm enjoying it.
I don't know. Is there anything we missed? Do we have stuff? Whose kicker is it anyway?
Who is?
How about Aaron Rodgers?
Is heartbreaking.
Poor Achilles. Colorado State. Who are your picks?
Points.
Which point?
Colorado State.
Yeah. Both. Okay. All right.
I've turned Mike into a man of the plus sign, and we're gonna end up where it's like the year of the favorites, and we're just gonna die a slow death.
Here's two interesting games I found. You have Washington at Michigan State plus 16. Michigan State plus 16.
Ooh, plus 16.
But they just fired their coach.
That is something you have to be on alert. Like, be on the lookout. Little bolo action for some Mel Tucker signs on game day this week, because there could be some gems in there.
Yeah, I think Washington could beat them by.
Yeah, I do. Sure. One, Michigan State was already bad, but like two, your coach got fired for jerking off. Like, you can't come back from that on Saturday and show up.
No.
So are you going to actually take the points here? Or are you going to?
Oh no.
What's the spread?
It's Washington, University of Washington, -16.
Thanks for letting us know the university. I thought we were talking about the former. No, not the R-Skins. Can't say that word.
Washington,
Can't say
D.C.
that.
University.
Have we stopped the pod?
No,
No.
it's ticking.
Oh, okay. I forgot. I thought we were just chilling after. I
Mike-
thought we were done.
We would have dropped
Washington.
the R
No,
word.
this is the last thing. I just wanted to confirm these last.
Yeah, I was
few
like, Brett,
scores.
why? You can say Redskins. I didn't realize we were recording.
Washington Redskins -16 over Michigan State.
No, I'll take -16 there.
Okay.
Gotta
That's-
fade.
All right.
Gotta fade
So
the
last game I found, this one's interesting. BYU at Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Arkansas -8.
I think I've seen 0 snaps of either team, so
Same.
we'll stick with the plus sign.
BYU.
Yeah, shout out Wilson.
BYU.
I like Arkansas there.
Oh, you want Arky?
Yeah, just every time the SEC plays someone from a different conference, they get their ass kicked. So I don't know.
So Brett, you want the plus sign. So that's the only game we've agreed on. Mike and I are opposite on all the other 5.
We're sneaking up on Ryder Cup. Just a heads up, boys.
I know. It's weird. I gotta shake back into golf mode for like a week.
Yeah, just like 3 days. You gotta get up early.
When is it?
I think it's not this. It might be next weekend, which does suck because it's like a big. But also, they're playing overseas, so it should be some early morning golf action.
Let's see, Ryder.
So we're talking like 2 cans, or yeah,
all day. Just keep it in.
there.
It's the 29th through the 1st.
Oh, okay. We got more time than I thought. I thought it was like the 14th area, so that's good. We got a little time.
What week is that?
Anybody bought their first pumpkin?
No,
I'm guessing you.
Yes.
it's a loaded question. I appreciate if you stayed out of my personal affairs.
No real pumpkins. We definitely have the home goods fake pumpkin decor in the house.
What about the pumpkin spice lattes?
I've had one from a
Holy
food truck down the street.
Keep Austin weird. Is that it? We done? Anything else?
I think so. That's all I got.
LSU
I didn't get the
27. Oh God, that seems 31-20 LSU.
31-24.
32-21.
I really wanted to hit end before Grant got his end, but I didn't do it.
Over and out, folks.
Like and
I didn't get to
subscribe.
tell